You're watching KSPF Channel 1. So for today's video, I wanted to dive right back into the Big 12 and discuss the Oklahoma State TCU game. The first game was played in 1915. Oklahoma State would win that game 13-0. The two teams have played 30 times overall in this entire series. Oklahoma State's won 16 of those, TCU 12, and they've tied twice. TCU joined the Big 12 in 2012. Since then, the two teams have played every year, with Oklahoma State taking 5 out of the last 8. Since 2012, Oklahoma State's only won one time in Fort Worth, and that was a 31-6 victory. So what's at stake for each team? Oklahoma State is still playing for a dark horse chance to get to the Big 12 championship game, so a win this weekend would go a long way. TCU's current record is 4-4. A win this weekend would ensure that they end the regular season with a winning record. So Oklahoma State and TCU come into this game having played all the same Big 12 teams with the exception of Baylor, who postponed and is now Oklahoma State's closing game of the season. So the first game I think we should note is Iowa State. Oklahoma State beat Iowa State by 3 points. TCU lost by 3 points to Iowa State, which leads us to Texas. Texas beat Oklahoma State by 7 in Stillwater. TCU beat Texas by 2 in Austin. Our third game is Kansas State. Kansas State lost in Manhattan to Oklahoma State by 2 points, but went down to Fort Worth and won by 7. And then we get West Virginia, who at home beat TCU by 18 points. West Virginia also went to Stillwater and lost by 14. TCU's receiving corps this season is being led by Tay Barber, who last year in the game against Oklahoma State was the number 2 receiver by yards. And for Oklahoma State, their receiving corps is being led by Tylan Wallace, who last year was absent for this game. This game sees the return of the top 2 rushers from last year's game. Max Duggan ran the ball 16 times for 86 yards and a touchdown. For Oklahoma State, Chuba Hubbard was the leading rusher. He ran 20 times for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then we get our quarterbacks. Spencer Sanders returns as the starter for Oklahoma State for this game. Last year, he was 9 for 15 for 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Max Duggan for TCU came in and had 21 of 39 passing last season for 258 yards, 1 touchdown, but he threw 3 interceptions. So in order to make our best score prediction for this week, I think it's important to look at last week's matchups. TCU went on the road and beat Kansas handily. Oklahoma State got into a shootout at home against Texas Tech, scoring their most points of the season so far. But with a spread of almost 3 points favoring Oklahoma State, I think the odds makers are taking into account that Oklahoma State hasn't won much in Fort Worth under head coach Mike Gundy. So for me, I think that we already know pretty much what we're going to get out of this game. I think that TCU and Oklahoma State are going to put up a few points, and when it comes down to it, Oklahoma State is just going to make the 1 or 2 big defensive plays that make the difference in this game. So I think that the 2.5 point spread is accurate, and I would pick this game with a final score of 37-34 favoring Oklahoma State. Let me know in the comments. What do you think the final score is going to be? Do you think that Oklahoma State is going to make it to the Big 12 championship game? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Be sure to like and subscribe to this video, and as always, go Pokes!